raw file. And gentlemen, we are about to go live. Bear with me 1 second here. All right, guys, I think we are live. All right, let's roll. I gotta have the dumb face for the first few minutes while I'm double checking. You know, did this work? Did that work? You get the error. Welcome, everybody. Today we are talking about planning your demand gen efforts for 2024. I've got a couple of real fun guests that I'm excited to have a chat with about today. These are two people that I've known for a long time, and we're talking about what we're going to do in 2024, what worked well in 2023, and some things that we're excited about. So without further ado, allow me to introduce Rick Pizzoli, the founder CEO over at Salesforce Europe. Rick is basically our partner for anybody who comes to us and says, hey, we want lead generation services, demand gen, outsourcing, et cetera, over in Europe. We send them to Rick. Rick, welcome.
Thank you, Collin. Really appreciate the time today. And likewise, Particular Revenue is our partner for the US market. I'm originally from San Francisco. I moved to Europe about 25 years ago, and I was in the shoes of a lot of our clients of launching Europe and building out teams and how to do that. And so 20 years ago, I founded Salesforce Europe to provide lead generation and sales outsourcing as a service. Since then, we've helped about 500 technology companies either move to Europe from mainly North America or expand within Europe. So now we're pretty even between Europe to Europe and US to Europe. And we offer lead generation and sales outsourcing services.
Love it. Right on. We also joining us today, we also have Amir. Amir I used to be a competitor, always been kind of friendly. We've had a number of conversations about things, but Amir is the founder CEO over at CloudTask. And you have a marketplace for all of this stuff launching. I mean, I know it's live, but I know you got a special thing launching next week.
Yeah,
so why don't you tell us a little bit about
competitors. I would say we were colleagues in the industry, and then yes, we pivoted to a marketplace to take that colleague to the whole next level. And now I'm both of your guys' SDR. So when we get perfectly matched opportunities to the marketplace, we do our best to match them to the agencies, remote candidates, or platforms that best serve their outcomes. And I got to say, Collin, it is always a little bit frustrating doing these webinars with you because your camera is too crystal clear, and it makes me want to go shopping for some new gear. So good job with the lighting and camera as always.
It's the only way I can get comments about my looks. So
it's with crystal clear 4K of your face. That's a good thing, right? So
unfortunately, you still have to look at my face, but at least
for everybody. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm actually a zombie underneath. Yeah. Right on. So 2023 was, I think, an interesting year. And so I want to start with, there's a lot we could, at least for me, there's a lot we could say, hey, this didn't go right. We tried this, that didn't work in 2023. I want to lead off with, Rick, what worked really well for you in 2023?
Yeah, this year has been a challenging year for a lot of companies. A lot of money dried up, so companies didn't have the same amount to invest and lead generation and sales, and a lot of the customers they're selling to didn't have the money to invest in the technology. And then in parallel to that, you have a deflation in people's interest and ability to invest in technology, to invest in features. So companies will pay less in features, yet the cost of having a startup is going up. So all these factors make it harder for companies to sell. And so when you're doing lead generation and sales outsourcing, when you're partnering with companies, we've had to be extra focused and hyper personalized in both building the data for our clients, reaching out to our clients from a personalized perspective, and then progressing them efficiently through kind of the qualification process to opportunities, and we're taking it to closure, or to passing over to the clients. And we've really worked with our clients to kind of merge the sales-led growth with product-led growth. So encouraging our clients to really make it easy for the customers to test products, to start using products earlier, whether it's a freemium model or a pilot model, so that product-led growth and the digital marketing to educate the market and the sales-led growth, or just the sales outsourcing to communicate that message, those all have to go in sync together. And it sounds like a lot. So if people aren't familiar with product-led growth, there's a lot on it on the internet today, so I won't need to repeat it today. But it's really about making that product really sticky, easy to use. And if we as a sales outsourcing team can communicate to the clients, can get them using the products, excited about the products, and the companies can then start using it and see a quick time to value from the onboarding process and the usage, and then the scaling of it internally, and then getting referrals. So then drives more inbound leads, et cetera. Then that all increases the speed to market and the benefit of what we're doing as a lead generation and sales outsourcing team.
Love that. Amir, I know you had some comments before. I'd love your thoughts on the subject.
Well, Mike, look, to add what Rick said, he said money's drying up. It's drying up because it became a lot more expensive, right? Interest rates have gone up. And I think to add to what Rick was saying, there's this old saying, right? That you can categorize a product or services. Sometimes it's, I'm sure you've heard this before, either it's a painkiller, a vitamin, or a candy, right? And I think prior to 2022, all of those were thriving, really, right? Like people were buying vitamins, they were buying candies, they were buying things that, look at Gong.io, not essential for a sales team to be successful, but it became a unicorn, and it's all just recordings, meetings, right? And I think really what happened last year, 2023, is that the products or service that were vitamins or candies really were not being purchased because they were vitamins and candies. And when money is expensive and money's dried up, you're either buying a painkiller that immediately has an effect on your profit and loss, or you're not. And then if you look at how Rick was talking about product-led growth, what he didn't mention was that, when it comes to outsourcing sales, probably a lot of companies that were vitamins or candies tried doing it internally first, failed, and then they would reach out to outsource companies. They typically don't admit, like when they reach out to a Rick or to a particular whatever, they're not telling you, hey, we failed, we tried this inside, our product's a vitamin or a candy. They're coming at you like, we raised money, our thing's the best, you got to sell it, right? And it's a good opportunity for agencies because it became harder and harder for companies to do these things internally. I think the thing what Rick was saying was that now, because companies really couldn't take their vitamin and candy and get it to everybody, that they probably became more receptive to leaderships like both of you guys telling buyers to get rid of the sales and marketing department, become a revenue department, and actually have an offer that people want. So I think if I hear Rick correctly, like it's became harder to sell, but also more opportunity for leadership from sales agencies to give advice to companies selling their product service. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, I think they were listening more to our advice, because in the past, they almost were stubborn and people were buying, so they wouldn't really listen to you. Now it's like, you have no choice. You either listen to us and get results, or you die, right? So that's kind of my opinion, where, the demand for outsourced sales agencies has increased, but also the need for buyers to listen and make changes, I think, has also increased too.
Yeah, I would say not just listening to us, but we're the ears to the market, right? And it's something they're saying, listen, this message is not resonating in the US or the UK or Germany. It's because the product market fit might be good in the US, might be good in the UK, but it's not hitting Germany. So
Yep.
let's be really quick to adapt. It's not me saying I'm not being successful because of this. It's saying, listen, I'm communicating what the market is saying. So let's adapt and really make sure that our product market fit from a product perspective or a messaging or a pricing perspective, and we pivot quickly to make that fit, right?
Yeah, well, what we're also hearing from what you're saying too is that a lot of times the buyers that come your way, even how Collin introduced you, right? He's like, you're my UK guy, right? So you get some opportunity for UK, he refers it to you. If we get an opportunity that matches you in the UK and it matches other qualities, we refer to you. So sometimes it also sounds like buyers are coming to penetrate new markets when they work with the Salesforce Europe, right? And that also requires them to do market, to stay in the stage of market validation first before getting into the scaling size, right? So typically you're coming in saying, okay, cool, like your product, there's probably a demand and need in Europe, but we need to check the messaging first before scaling that, right? Because it's not exactly the same as it is in the States. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
And I think building on that, to your point about, some of these companies, it's just not working. They need to do a little bit more validation. That the lens I like to offer our team to when they're looking at, what was working, what is working, why isn't it working, is kind of the 3 Ps, which are product market fit, positioned in the market, and power. And when I say power, I'm using a definition from Hamilton Helmler's 7 powers. And he says there's only 7 different powers. Those are the moats that you can have to achieve persistent differential returns against your competitors. I won't go into the book because it's not my book, and I do a very bad job. But if you're interested, I highly recommend checking that out. But the core idea is that product market fit exists and is a temporary gap in a market. It is not something that's going to last forever. When Uber launched Uber Eats, the next person to launch an Uber Eats type service didn't get the same results because they already had Uber Eats, right? When they launched, they got insane reply rates. They booked tons of meetings with the top 50 restaurants because this is something that was never, like, they could never do before, right? Then you consider, okay, that's a temporary short-term gap. Then what happened next? Well, they had a really strong position and they had branding and they had network economies and, they had a number of things. And that made it hard for their competitors to go in. And so if you're a competitor and saying, hey, we've got product market fit, we did the same thing as Uber Eats. Yes, there technically is the same air quotes product market fit, but your position in the market is very different. And then when you look at the power that Uber had in terms of the scale, the branding, they had already won some markets. This is just additional 3 lenses that we offer to help understand some of the context of, hey, are we going and going to run this wide open in the market and just say, hey, the only thing that matters is being first to market? Or do we have to be considered in our approach and take and keep in mind that there is heavy competition and we have to position ourselves against that competition, or this competition has this position because they own this power. And so those are kind of the 3 additional, I don't know, sales geeky lenses that we like to bring to the conversation.
I could expand on that, right? Like I also think if you look at product market fit, I think the window for a company to stay competitive has shrunk very fast in the sense that, if you built Microsoft Excel in the 1990s, there was no competition. That product stayed dominant for like 30 years, right? Fast forward to 2022, 2 companies that I know of that are listed in our marketplace. One is called Jasper.ai. One is called Reggie.ai. They were freaking cool and sexy when they first came out. And everybody was like, what is this new technology? They had product market fit. They were faster, cheaper, more, but they were a painkiller. And then ChatGPT got released in November. And all of a sudden that protected moat around those 2 companies disintegrated fast. So a company selling Jasper or Reggie prior to ChatGPT faced little to no competition, right? Post ChatGPT, and I reached out to a sales agency owner that's in our network. I'm not gonna name him, but he was introduced to Reggie.ai. He purchased it through the marketplace because it was helping him with onboarding. I checked in with him 5 months later. How's Reggie.ai doing? He goes, it's basically a $15,000 version of ChatGPT. I stopped using it. I'm using ChatGPT. Well, if you're Reggie.ai and you raise $50 million and now you got ChatGPT for $20 a month, that is evolving faster than you, and you're basically built on ChatGPT, you got some problems, right? And then if that company, when their company's hiring an agency, depending on that window they hire it, the agency can have a completely different experience. It can literally go from having meetings, no competition, to nothing like that. So I almost look at like product market fit and these things almost like a window from where like a orchid blossoms, right? Like it blossoms and it's amazing, everybody wants it, and then all of a sudden the flower's gone, and that flower lasts for a long time. I've had orchids that last for a year. I've had ones that die in 3 months. So I think that's also an interesting thing when it comes to buyers recognizing what their product is, what their competition is, and being honest with agencies. Because if a Reggie or a Jasper is going to hire, a Salesforce Europa, but they don't address the fact that ChatGPT is coming at them fast, they're going to ultimately set up the agency for failure as much as they would an in-house SDR, right? So I think companies need to be, it's moving really fast, and there's just nothing that an SDR or an agency can do to overcome something like, hey, 15K or $20 a month, right? Like that's a hard battle for anybody to win. And I think that now more than ever, buyers and sales agencies need to communicate about the negative stuff as much as the positive stuff, or else they're all going to just be giving each other what they want to hear, spending some money and then failing.
Yeah, I want to give Rick a chance to comment on that. I also want to make sure we don't go down the rabbit hole of buyers or liars, because I'm sure we've all had it happen before. Yeah.
I would say just on the product market fit, people talk about often revenue, like it's people, I'm signing clients, I have revenue, I got product market fit, I'm going to scale. And I don't think that's the right model. I think the right model is usage, is retention, because you will know immediately if you're losing clients from retention. Like they're using my product less, they haven't canceled yet, but they're staying on my product less, they're using it less. There's a good chance that they're going to not renew because they're going someplace else. So companies that can look at those metrics on a day-to-day basis and manage their team, manage their BDRs, their sales guys, their inside sales, their agencies, not on revenue, but on keeping those metrics where they should be and looking at those metrics, because sometimes they start failing before they start failing because they're not keeping, they're waiting for the revenue numbers to come out, which could be, after the client stopped, and then 2 months later when the CFOs, give them the reports, right? So, we're big on scaling new markets. So companies have got that product market fit in their home markets. They need to understand what those metrics are, both just on how many leads convert to opportunities, opportunities to deals, and what those teams look like, but also the usage metrics of their clients. Once they're signed on, how long does it take to sign on a client, and what's that usage rate? Now let's apply that to a new market, and let's try to replicate those usage rates. And let's make sure that we task everybody along the way with the right metrics. So we know if they do this and the client does that these numbers are going to hit. And
Rick,
I think that's quite unique, because most people, when they come to us, they don't have these numbers. They don't even have their own lead gen numbers. So it's really important to plan and have those numbers early on.
Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you really saying that companies will no longer be able to separate the revenue from customer success and net new revenue anymore, and they have to really look at it as one? Like, is that kind of what you're saying? Where like the cheapest revenue is going to be from your existing clients, and if you ignore that, you're just foolish?
Well, no, I'm saying your existing clients need to grow. Of course, that's all the product-led growth stuff, penetration, referrals, upsell internally. But if you see with your existing numbers, if the usage rate, if you have Zoom, any usage-based tools, Slack, do you find, well, people are using my tool, yes, less, right? And the penetration within the company is going down. And the features within HubSpot, people are using less. Something wrong is happening, right? If they're using less of your features, then maybe they're buying more features from the outside, or maybe they're testing something else. So those are metrics that can be tracked before you start seeing the impact on your revenue. So if those usage numbers go down, something needs to be fixed, because the revenue numbers will follow, both from existing clients in new clients coming on, because I think that's also predictive of how well you're going to sell. If your current clients are looking elsewhere, then new clients are also going to look at.
So basically, if your post-sale cycle is you're churning customers faster and faster and getting less engagement, if you ignore that and you continue to add new clients, you're going to run out of money and fail. And that companies need to pay attention to make sure that they're equally investing in keeping existing customers happy and growing as net new, because, and that makes sense to me. I'm just trying to recap what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. And that might mean you spend a little bit more in the product. The product has to be better than ever these days, right? I mean, you get one chance. Somebody's going to test your product one time. You test drive a new car, it doesn't turn on, you're not going to buy that car, right? I mean, you try a pair of shoes, they're not comfortable. It's basic stuff. So, you know,
well, I think it has a lot to do with, I think it has a lot to do with like SaaS in general. That we talk about SaaS. It used to have a high valuation because the barrier of entries were so high. And I think that it flipped from having, software flipped from having the highest barrier of entry to now the lowest, where you can spend 5K from a development shop in Ukraine and build an awesome platform, right? So I think it's like flipped, where it's like in the past, it's like, we had an in-house team, we built this, nobody can code Microsoft Windows, right, or Excel. And now it's like, actually, no, it's actually now the fastest moving industry. And if you don't protect yourself, your competitors will come. That's kind of makes sense. I know in Europe right now, I know that the EMEA is blocking the purchase of Figma by Adobe. And I don't know if you know or been following that acquisition, but it's been held up for 15 months. And it's held up it passed EMEA, passed the States, it's held up in the UK. And they're basically saying, could Figma become competitive? Could they build a competitive product to Adobe? Because if they could, then it could be like a monopoly thing. So it's ironic because it's like happening in real time, where now regulatory bodies are blocking deals based on, could this competitor build a competition fast? It's kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys were following that acquisition, but they're blocking it because of that.
Yep, have been following it. They certainly could, to get the penetration that Photoshop and Illustrator and all of those tools would get to. Those are very, very, very different products. I mean, you look at Apple as one of the greatest product companies in the world. They make a fantastic phone. Their computers are amazing. Their software leaves a little bit to be desired, right? It's hard to be good at all of these things.
It's not even coming from Figma. It's coming from the regulatory bodies. Figma's a bot. They want to sell. It was like, it's them being like, you can compete. So just because to show you, it's like, if they're thinking that, it's almost like the same thing that Rick was saying, where it's like, if you're not on top of your product and your market, you're done regardless, right?
100%. I want to move to Amir and your idea of community and dark social. So help us understand the buzzword bingo that is the thing that worked for you this year.
Well, the thing is this, right? Like our business went through transition. We were going from digital to analog, right? Our marketplace, we're using, Airtables and manual matching, right? Rick has been there. We've made an interview with him, I think maybe one or two, through the marketplace, moving to digital. And I have not been pushing traditional marketing and sales because of that, but it gave me time to explore dark social and the sense that it's just social, right? So I've been in like WhatsApp groups with like 1,000 people, and I'm just answering questions, commenting, right? Sometimes I see you in Modern Sales Pros, which is an email list of 40,000 people, right? You're answering emails sometimes, Collin, right? So I think you know about dark social as much as I do. So I think we just live in a world now where you can generate demand, website traffic, or meetings by interacting in communities and groups like never before. And there's an explosion of, things like Reddit and Medium, I think have existed for a long time, right? And I think that B2B buyers can't ignore them anymore, right? Because I think I read also that Reddit got a huge bump in traffic from Google. So like there's a chance that your article in Reddit will get picked up faster from Google than your website, and people can't ignore it anymore because it's just reality. And that would be considered dark social. I personally opened up a Substack account, which is I don't even know what it is. I just opened it because I can't even tell if it's a newsletter or a community. I don't even know.
Newsletter blogging platform.
But I posted, so I took a blog and I posted it on my Substack, and I had in the comments somebody asking me questions. They're like, hey man, I'm thinking about hiring remotely in Latin America, but these are my fears. And like the guy doesn't have a profile picture, doesn't have a name, but like his questions were legit. And I wrote back my answers, and I'm realizing that like before people want to go to your website, they want to like engage with you in comments and show in social. And like if you leave a trail on social, people can read comments, and that comment can turn into a deal. And I think it's hard to measure that, right? Like who's measuring, we just got $1 million deal because someone saw our comment in Substack, and it's happening, but it's hard to measure. So I'm doubling down on it. But I know what happens is that people want to measure things, and if they can't measure it, they don't want to do it. But I would advise any company to measure your net profit and gross profit, because those things never lie, right? So I think when navigating these dark social, these things, like if you try to measure it, you're probably going to kill it because you're not going to be able to. But if you measure your net profit and your gross profit and you're beating your forecasts, you could probably say that it has something to do with it. But that's been my experience so far, right? We're building communities and just interacting, and I think it's just a different way of selling, right? No one's visiting a website; they're just reading content. So it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's always a tough balance between the day of like, how much time do I want to waste clicking around on LinkedIn or replying to comments in WhatsApp, or looking at the MSP things. And I don't say waste. I mean, I say waste when I mean like clicking around on LinkedIn. I find scrolling just the worst, the biggest waste of time. I do not like social media. I do enjoy sharing and helping people, and so I find social a tough balancing act. I like MSP because it's there. I can search, and sometimes threads pull up when I'm searching my email for a doc. Rick, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on community and social, and how do you all use it?
I don't think it can be ignored because, I mean, what are our outreach tools today, right? I mean, any company is there, they're doing digital marketing, right? So they have organic search. So they're doing content, video, everything to get their organic search. They're doing paid search. That's digital marketing, driving inbound. And then you need to have an outbound strategy. So you hire teams like us or your own team. You build that data of, okay, here's 1,000 companies, my ideal customer profile. Here's 3 job profiles. Within that, there's 3,000 people. I'm going to go after those 3,000. I'm going to start emailing them, in the US. Well, I'll email 10,000 a week if I get 1% penetration. But guess what? Google's turning that off. These email platforms are turning it off. Now you need to warm up inboxes. But we're saying like 20 the first month, 50 the second month. So it's a really small number. LinkedIn is turning down the volume. So you can't either yourself or use tools to just bombard people with LinkedIn messages. And say, if I do it in the thousands and I get 1%, calling, hey, I emailed you, I called you, following up on that. Okay, that's great. But calling only goes so far. So you're limited to those 3. You need to have a fourth, and the fourth are social platforms, groups. So whether the BDR says, listen, the BDR needs to spend 1/4 of his time, or their time, reaching out on these platforms and finding where your buyers are communicating. So you said, Amir, the buyers need to be aware. It's less about the buyers, because the buyers are finding the products there. It's the sellers that need to be aware. The sellers, whether it's the BDR that needs to spend that time, or the marketing team that also probably need to spend that time. The sellers, the BDRs can do it on a target approach. Where is Collin today? How do I communicate to Collin? Because I want to get my message in front of them. And I do some search, and I found out he's posting here, he's posting there. Let me go to Collin and let me comment on his post, and let me share something with him. Let me invite him to a webinar, right? So he sees, oh, wow, he's invited me on LinkedIn. He's found me here. He's building a social relationship with me. He's not just spamming me. This is somebody in my community. Okay, I might take a call from them because he's taken the time to get to know me, and it's just not an AI tool that's scraping my LinkedIn and pushing fake emails out to me. So I think it's something that has to be done, probably both part of the BDR's job on a day-to-day basis and part of the marketing from a one-on-one perspective, and part of the marketing company's job, marketing team's job to communicate the general brand and messaging of the company.
I think a general theme from 2023, and in fairness, the last 5 to 10 years has been there. You will find a channel. The first people to be active on that channel get this huge first mover advantage. Like if you were sending emails, like, do you remember what it was like sending emails 10 years ago? It was so easy. You could almost get responses from like, hi.
Worth a lot of money right now.
Yeah, 100%. It was so easy to start an email agency back then. I mean, that's not why I did it. But it's probably why we were able to be successful, because to start an email-based agency today, the table stakes are so much higher. There are a million other things. And when you think about the lifetime of a channel, those first couple of years, you're going to get the best reply rates, and then you're going to see diminishing returns as more people make it to that channel. So cold calling, cold emailing, social, those channels are all fully saturated. And when that happens, SDR quotas don't go down, they stay the same. And so SDRs have to look to new sources, and things like social, things like communities, I think are the answer.
I think the big thing is that if you are running a marketing and sales department, you will destroy yourself from within. It is the same thing as what's happening in America right now. It is extreme left and it's extreme right, destroying the freaking country. I'm going to say it. It is the same thing with businesses, because if somebody interacts with this webinar, right, and they build trust with Rick, and they now know Rick's the guy for EMEA, and then they go to Rick's website, Rick's marketing team, I don't know if you're separate, Rick, I'm just using an example, will say, we got this with SEO, right? But in reality, it was heavily influenced by this webinar that you can't measure. So I believe that if we continue to have marketing and sales teams trying to fight for attribution, you will crash and burn. And if you literally become one team where you're not trying to fight for attribution, and you're like, this is our messaging, right? Whether it's product-led growth, which is what Rick said, here's our awareness, consideration, content, and we're just going to run them on all channels, and we're not going to fight for attribution, and we're going to measure our gross profit and net profit. I think those companies will win, because I think those that are trying to protect their budgets and jobs will just lose, because you can't do it and you can't measure it. And if I ran my company where I was trying to measure the budget on effectiveness and everything, I would cancel everything, because I'll try looking for an ROI on this or that. And it's a bad behavior, especially if you're beating forecast. How many times, Rick, and I'll ask you this question, do you know, has your agency been fired during times when the companies themselves were beating their forecast?
Sure. They think it's easy. So they were like,
well, if you hear how you answer that, it's fundamentally flawed, because if they hired your agency and they have a forecast and they're beating it, firing you is ridiculous. But they'll do it because they try to measure everything on a one-to-one basis, but that's just not how it works anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's the same with, when you do outbound, you're sending, these are all brand impressions, some good, marketing, some neutral, some bad. Yeah. It's marketing. You are going to get some clicks. The amount of times that I see, it probably happens 5 times a year, where one of our outbound campaigns will generate somebody who'll come and click, and then they'll inbound to us. And doing that attribution is hard. And there's the whole like last touch, multi-touch attribution. I think, pulling one of my things forward for like what I'm excited about next year, I'm writing the next predictable revenue book. Great. And it's a sum.
Can I add some value?
For sure. 10 grand. Yeah.
10 grand.
You're paying 10 grand. That's good.
You didn't say it's COP. I got it. That's $5.
Yeah. There you go. No, I think the biggest thing that we've learned in the last 10 years is that it's not just about, you can't just bolt on sales development to a company and expect it to work well. And I've seen a number of examples of it going squirrely. And the core thing is that what we've learned is there are 4 funnels, and you need to respect each one. You've got your prospecting funnel, your closing funnel, your account management funnel, and your nurture funnel. And I pull out the nurture funnel specifically because both sales development and account managers or account executives need to do it. And the nurture funnel is the thing that gets ignored, especially when you're doing sales development. It is those deals that are the right people at the right company, but there's no project that's going to happen in the next 90 days. So as an AE, if you're not set up to have a strong nurture process, and there's no place you can put that in the CRM, and nobody teaches you that process, that deal is going to die. You're either going to say, hey, this isn't a good deal, or you're going to stick it in your pipeline, and it's going to sit there forever. And suddenly you'll have 387 deals in your pipeline, and you're going like, now it's lost because it's in this huge forest of deals that I have no idea what's going on.
Or the management say, well, you got all these deals sitting there, what's happening? Why aren't they moving forward? So no, that's critical. A lot of our clients won't even put the nurture deals in the CRM or let us report on them because no, they're not. We don't want to see them, but you have to see them. As you said, it's the right person, the right company. We built that data. We reached out to them. We maybe have had a call with them. They've asked for information. Maybe they've gone quiet. They've taken it, but you know they're the right person. So keep them, do the email, do the follow-up, do the newsletter to them.
It is the
Yeah.
most important part of a sales development program is your nurture program. It's honestly, it's one of the reasons why we moved away from charging on a per meeting basis for charging our customers, because when you put that, all the popular pricing, I shouldn't say popular, but like, a lot of the pricing wisdom says value-based pricing. You charge your clients more as they get more value from your platform, which is great for like HubSpot, but I still feel a little bit chapped with HubSpot when I'm paying for my, X list. I had a bunch of subscribers. Suddenly my HubSpot costs are massive now. The thing that really caught us with value-based pricing with meetings was customers don't want to pay for them. They only wanted to pay for the perfect ones. So we had these lovely months where we'd book 28 meetings for a client and thinking like, yes, this is going to be a good month. The client should be happy. And they show up and they're like, this was bad, that was bad, this was bad. And it's like,
They're just
this
cheating
person,
themselves.
exactly.
Essentially. They're only
But
cheating themselves.
the behavior exists even between sales and marketing. Sales and marketing don't want this attribution. Marketing wants this deal to pass through their funnel and land in sales. And sales is going, no. Unless this thing's going to be a perfect close, I don't want it. And so there's this fighting of like, you go in your CRM, look at all these dead leads. It's because there's this natural tension between the person that creates the meeting and the person that has to close that meeting. And my solution to that is create the nurture funnel. You both don't want it? Great. Put it in the nurture funnel, build a process, and ensure that people are following that process. And to me, that's one thing that's worked for us in 2023. I think the thing that's been working, honestly, for me personally, I'm going to change my answer because I had something about AI, which is interesting, but not as interesting as this. I've been writing the book, which I hesitated to do for a long time because I'm not Aaron Ross. I didn't write the first book. I contributed a chapter or two to Impossible to Inevitable. I don't see myself as an author, but I felt the need to share some of the things that we've learned with the people on our team and the community at large. And I just, it's been the best thing for me to improve the clarity of thought and to improve some of the ideas and some of the ways I thought about sales development and sales.
Yeah. You're right. You're not Aaron Ross. You're a lot better than him. So I'm looking forward for your book.
I'm taller. That's all I can say. I love Aaron. We have a complicated relationship, but he's
You're gonna change
ultimately
my
a good human.
statements.
He's here
All
in
right,
Europe somewhere.
He's
There's
he's
good
up
in
in
the there's
Glasgow.
good in the better, Collin. And I'm looking forward to your book
Well,
because it'll be
I'll certainly be in touch. I mean, it's a tall order. Predictable Revenue is a bestseller. Aaron is an amazing writer. And so it's going to be a tough one to beat, and I'm up to the challenge. I'm kind of pulling mine forward from next year. Amir, what are you looking forward to for next year?
man, having a platform that I can market to and helping all the 210 plus agencies and 10,000 remote candidates and 1,000 software sellers get the right buyers. I'm excited about that. We believe, Rick, you mentioned product-led growth. Like I'm not going to coin this term, but we believe in market-led growth, right? We believe the fact that buyers will be able to read the glossary, look at the filters, educate themselves while they're buying. We think that they just don't know what they're buying right now. They don't know the difference between they don't know what they're measuring. They don't know what success looks like. They will come hire you being like, we need meetings, but then 10 minutes later be like, we needed revenue, right? So like they're changing their mind in real time. And we really hope that our marketplace, by being just neutral, will help buyers that have products that are painkillers find the right partners like yourselves to achieve those goals. So like we live in the space of inefficiency. We live in that space of you get 28 meetings, the company fires you, but they had a 400% ROI and they only hurt themselves and they hurt you. So I look forward to helping buyers and sellers and helping the right companies meet you guys, because everybody wants to do good business with each other. They just don't know how to. So they end up becoming adversarial. So I'm just excited about our technology platform going live and helping the buyers find you guys. Sounds cheesy, but it's my life.
I hear that. I'm excited about getting my book out. So,
and I want to quote your
also-
book. And then when it's
cheesy.
better and bigger and better than Aaron's book, and I'm going to say, I told you so.
We'll see about that. I'll definitely be in touch about chatting about the book. Let's go to Rick. Thoughts on Amir's community?
I think the community is excited. I think there's a lot of interesting platforms out there. Whether it's a platform for sales agencies or for recruitment. I mean, I think platforms that create community and great feedback are really exciting. We have quite a few clients today and clients that we're talking to that say, well, I'm not really a technology company, I'm more of a service company because they have that community platform, but it's based on the technology, and that is a sweet spot for us. And so I think that's a really exciting space. What's going to happen next year? I think obviously AI is everywhere. I was just doing some searching on AI for lead generation, and there's 50 articles that have 10 to 50 companies each, and they're all different companies. Like there's no kind of agreement on what the top AI platforms are or what AI should even be doing. What we don't think it should be doing is writing your emails and writing your responses and responding to clients. Maybe there could be some simple chat bots for some, maybe freemium models, frequently asked questions, etc. But then you get to a point, you pass it to a live person. But we think AI should be more about hyper targeting, building. We're using data today from third-party data providers. We use Cognizant out of the UK, so we can say, okay, the ideal customer profile is the banking community, this size companies, these countries, but you only get so much. And so with AI, you can get a lot more targeted. You can say, okay, these types of companies have been excellent customers for us, build out that data further, or look at this data and build out further. So I think AI is going to be used a lot more on this hyper personalization and maybe even research. Okay, now that I have the 300 companies that I should be selling to and the 200 job profiles within those companies, do some research on what these 500 people have been talking about. Where are they posting? What articles? What webinars have they done? Bring that information in, so when I communicate with them, I can find them, I can chat, I can build that social relationship with them. So I think that's going to be a big growth next year, is using AI for just the personalization, not for your own work, not for writing, but for allowing you to get to those people, find them, and communicate intelligently with them.
I'm 100% agree. I'm of two minds about AI. It is both the best technology to have come out in 2023 and the greatest waste of time, because it has so much potential, but it can't do everything. And it is, I found it very hard to get really amazing results out of it. We have gotten really amazing results out of it, but I've also spent 4 hours to get amazing results out of it, to do something that would have taken me an hour. Like I tried using it to help write me the predictable revenue too. It was good at like rephrasing things or like helping me clarify ideas, but in terms of like actually writing the content, I haven't used anything that I've written or that ChatGPT has provided. And the same goes for writing emails. Like anybody who's paying for a AI message writing service out there, shoot me an email. I have a prompt in ChatGPT that does an amazing job. It'll take a section from our SDR field guide, and then it'll give you 3 different variations of 5 different styles. It's one ChatGPT prompt. I'll give it to you. It's a Google Doc. I'll share it with you.
GPTs.
Yeah, you betcha.
I made one today too, but
nice.
not that. I made one.
So like AI is definitely going to change things. It requires some thought, some training data. If I was an SDR today, would I be super into this? I was always that guy who was trying to hack the CRM and like try and make it do different things. I think I would. I think there are SDRs out there that are going to lean heavily into ChatGPT and AI language models. I don't know if that's going to be the average SDR is what is going to get them up in the morning. And same for the marketing people. Like I think the biggest thing that worked really well for us in 2023 was our account qualification models. And that's basically, I give ChatGPT a whole bunch of information about a particular customer and their customers and what worked for them. And then I have a set of prompts that I go through and I pull out, okay, these are all the variables. This is what worked. Then I have another prompt that I say, okay, prompt, go look at these 800,000 customers and assess it on these 13 criteria, and then filter down from 800,000 to 15,000. And we've done that for a number of customers, and we've gone from like zeros on the board to like 8 meetings a month, 13 meetings a month, 15 meetings a month.
That's back to personalization. That's the targeting, right? It's not writing, it's targeting.
It's targeting, it's not writing, it's not personalizing. Yeah. I do use it for writing, but only to get through the like writer's block. Like I've got the prompt I'll share with you guys is called "My Client Is" or something like that, and I give it a link, a description of my client, and then it comes up with the styles. Those are not those are not the final emails, but it's a place to start. And I find it doesn't write the content for me. It saves me time getting to like a baseline crappy version of what I would have come up with. And then I can tweak and tune and test and iterate from there.
No more writer's block.
No
That's
more
what
writer's
humans have
block.
been doing forever. That's why we're humans. We're just doing it faster on machines.
Now the machines can kind of do it faster to get to that.
Process. Things change just faster.
Totally. What do you think? Amir, are you using AI at all this year?
Every single day of my life.
Tell me more.
10 times a day. I'm just a technologist and I understand where the future is heading, and I know that I'm either going to adapt or die. So I dive in all in and I build GPTs for all the things I do, right? Like all my shows have different call to actions, different prompts. So it allows us to, if I have this Transform Life episode or a software seller review or a sales agency spotlight, which are shows that we do, they'll have different call to actions. I prompt them all in. It saves me so much time. And then I even can start training it how I want to. You know, you can attach PDFs, so you can do a lot of things. So I'm just doubling down on it. This is something cool I'm working on. So you know, I noticed that I get so much spam on LinkedIn and all these things, and we're building right now a bot that just automatically answers my emails, and it just says friendly things like, "Hey, check with me in 6 months. Here's my social medias. Give me a like. Give me something." Like just all of a sudden using spam to my advantage.
Yeah.
Really want to get on, you know, my good side, you know, leave me a good review, right? And it just creates.
Is that autoresponder that hit me up?
I got it. I'll show it to you. It's pretty awesome. I have a CTO who geeks out on this stuff. I go by his weekend. We're watching YouTube videos of like robots working each other. We want to build a company that's worth billions of dollars with 10 employees, you know, maybe 3 even best, right? So I'm using ChatGPT to build higher valuation per employee per share. And yeah, I'm going to double down on it. I'm not going to give up, and I use it every single day.
Love it.
Yeah.
I've got some coming into next year. It's not ready to launch yet. We're just testing it internally, but we've got a tool that we're pulling dashboards from SmartLead, Apollo, Orem, which is like, we've had this for a little while, but what we're flipping to next year is using that same tool and those metrics, combining with the methodology, and then using that to send our weekly check-in emails, or at least to write them based on like, okay, you're at milestone 1. Here's what we're kind of looking for. These were the metrics, and pulling those in to basically like pre-write the drafts for our account strategists. So I'll hit you all up, because yeah, I'd love your feedback and thoughts on that.
I'm going to list
There's
it.
probably a lot of stats that the AI could be looking at. You know, if you're sending hundreds of emails and LinkedIn and Collin, people are answering, they're responding on the emails, the social stuff. I mean, if AI could track that across an AI team, I think a BDR team, you know, in live and give you reports back, that could be quite interesting.
If an employee can do it, then AI can do it, because AI is just a salary-less employee that never sleeps.
Yeah. The thing that works really well for us as it pertains to like the milestones and the methodology is it's really challenging if you're the person managing 8 different accounts or 5 different accounts. It's hard, 5 different clients and where they're all at, and then to look at the metrics and put them in that context. And so the thing that's great about the AI is it pulls the metrics. It knows that this client is in month 2. These are the metrics that it should be seeing, or it's in milestone 2. These are the metrics it should be seeing, and it can kind of comment on the diff. And so we're using it to like automate the basically like, this is where they are, this is what they're seeing, this is where we think they should be seeing, and then writing, writing the report there. Our team used to spend a day a week writing reports, a day a week, and we're working on automating it down to 0 time.
Now, if you search on lead gen AI tools, of course, HubSpot's out there promoting themselves, but I don't see this intelligence coming from HubSpot yet.
No, I don't know. It's going to be difficult for big companies to bolt on AI. Like, it's something that you need good labeling. It's got to be a fundamental strategy. And I think, I don't know, I've got access to Salesforce's Einstein. I'm sure people are getting value out of it, but I haven't seen anything meaningful. You know, you need a certain size of data for it to be statistically significant. And like, I certainly don't want to compare myself to the average of all Salesforce users, because that average Salesforce user in an opportunity motion is going to be this synthetic thing that represents nobody. Like everything is so different. Everybody uses it so differently. So when you're looking at, okay, what is really real with any of this AI data, it's, so much of it is going to be specialized on your own data set for it to be truly relevant and accurate. And I think this is one of the things that's going to change in the next year is with OpenAI. What they've done is they've given all these small providers that can now specialize in these niche problems the ability to catch up with companies like Reggie or Outreach or Apollo that have invested. I'm sure they all have huge teams, and no shade against any of them. Like, they're all good teams, good people, good products. They lost a step, they lost that differentiator, that thing that made them unique, because OpenAI kind of democratized access to AI, to really, really strong AI.
Yeah.
That's my AI rant. I know we
And,
wanted
and
to
you have
talk.
Google, and you have Google releasing its Gemini product, which, so
Totally.
it's gonna, their competition is gonna make our lives easier.
Totally. We got 10 minutes left. I wanted to briefly touch on Amir's comment about the new email rules coming out in February. So for people listening that haven't heard about them, what are they? What do we need to do about them?
Yeah, so I don't know them like a lawyer would, but essentially they're going to be cramping down on spam being sent through their servers, and they are basically saying that a sender needs to have, and correct me if I'm wrong, needs to have less than a 0.3 spam report and less than 5,000 per box, which is going to hurt the people who thrive in volume, right? And I think it's a positive thing for sales agencies, because it's going to allow, I think it's going to push sales agencies to operate into new B2B channels like Facebook, Instagram. I get B2B messages I get more messages on LinkedIn and Instagram. I don't look at my LinkedIn messages because they're all sales and they're all software development shops. So like, I stopped looking at LinkedIn and I put an autoresponder. That's how bad it got. But I see my Facebook and my Instagram and Twitter. I'm getting more messages, and I'm actually working with a Twitter automation company, I think, that I introduced you to, Collin, that's working pretty well. And I think that it's going to push buyers to work with sales agencies more, because sales agencies, I think, will be leading in the forefront of using Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then also I think it's going to really force companies to break down this sales and marketing barrier and really admit that they're just one revenue team after all. And so I think that it's bad for those that are lazy and just want to hit spam people and hit thousands of millions of people. Good for those that work hard and really think about the problems they solve and really take time into high quality writing. So I think I think the bad actors are going to be less successful, and the good actors might have an opportunity to win. My take. Could be
Rick,
wrong.
I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, GDPR, which is the European data protection law, has been around for a couple of years now, and so it's been limiting spam for a while. You can't spam people. You can send one-on-one personalized email from the business perspective, and it helps to have it associated with maybe a LinkedIn or a call. It's something very, very specific. And even that is maybe gray area when it comes to Germany. You're not supposed to really send an unsolicited email to somebody in Europe, but in Germany, they're even more strict, and companies can be fined huge amounts of money if they do it wrong. So I think these email laws that are coming in the US and globally are kind of a reflection of that. And then the email platforms like Gmail, et cetera, are onto this as well, because they're trying to protect their users. And so they're seeing mailboxes lit up and emails going out, and they're just dropping them in the spam, and then they're hitting the spam numbers. And so for 2 or 3 years now, when we start a new campaign, if I say, okay, I'm going to do an email, rick@predictablerevenue.com, that first month, I can only send 10 or 20 emails, because it's a new, I have a new email and I'm sending it. I can't start today and send 1,000 emails. It's going to go spam. Or I might say meet predictable revenue or get predictable revenue. So we'll do a couple others so we can layer that 10, 20, 30 of this first month as we ramp it up. But when we're working with customers and they see a slower start, they say, hey, I want a fast start. So listen, technically, these are the laws, and you can't break the laws, because it's URL that's going to get burned. And so you need to warm that up, ramp that up. You need to warm up the LinkedIn, targeting people, again, personalized. You need to use Collin, you need to use other platforms. And so I think the US is just getting in line with, let's say, European laws and how we've had to be creative for a while. And as you said, Amir, if you use tools that automate this and send it out in the thousands, really those days are over. So you have to be, those tools are still valid. We use those tools, we have clients have those tools, but they just have to be used smartly and within the regulation and within the technical confinements that are being deployed today.
I have a bit of a counter point on this, because I do think largely it's going to put pressure on email as a channel. True. It's going to reduce, they're already doing things to reduce the amount of spam that's going in. Those things are already live. They're already doing a lot of the things, and they're adding this additional big scary thing that says, if you hit a 0.3% complaint rate, we're going to pause your domain, right? You were not going to be sending. I think, so I agree largely with everything you said, Rick. I think a 20% likelihood counterpoint is that this has zero impact on sales agencies at all. I think this is going to have a massive impact on any large company that has a sales development team, because the way the rules are written, it's 5,000 emails per day to a Gmail account. And I think they may be collaborating with Yahoo on this, but how many Yahoo accounts are we sending to per day? It's not that many, most folks. But sending 5,000 emails per day to Gmail on a single domain, I don't know any sales dev agency that's doing that. Your sales development teams with 100 SDRs are most likely hitting that threshold, but 5,000 emails a day is quite a lot. A lot of the sales agencies I know are maxing out at 35 emails a day per account, right? You're already spreading it across multiple accounts, multiple domains. I think there's a non-zero chance that this has zero impact on sales agencies, and zero negative impact. And I think there's a non-zero chance it has a positive impact on sales dev agencies, because the large sales development teams aren't going to want to prospect on their parent domain anymore. And doing anything DNS or email related in a big company is a pain in the ass. And every time, like the reason that we buy domains and set them up and set up Gmail on behalf of our clients is because we've got a guy who does that. Every big company has some IT person that knows how to do this, but it's high risk, boring, mundane work. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to script a DNS record. And it takes, every time we've had a big customer and said, oh, go set these up, it takes 30 to 90 days. So for a big company to go and say, all right, let's create 10 or 20 prospecting domains so that our SDRs can send email, I just don't see that happening. And so I think it's going to push more and more big SDR teams to people like us. I'd say,
but they also need to trust that we're going to do
chance.
it right. I mean, they need to trust that the particular revenue knows how to do it right. And, and they're not just going to say, hey, I'm in it to get as many leads as possible. I'm going to blast the market. I don't really care what happens to your domain. And I think there's companies out there that don't care or are not aware. So I think it's important that when companies are selecting the right team, that they're aware, that the team is aware, that they make sure that the team is fully up to speed on these regulation from a regulatory perspective and a technical perspective.
100%. We got 2 minutes left, so I just wanted to close with Rick. If people are interested, what's the best place for them to track you down? How can they find you, get in touch?
Yeah, go to our website, salesforceeurope.com. Nothing to do with Salesforce. We were here first. So go to our website, find out what we do, send us an email or fill out information on our website. And if you want to talk about Europe, we're happy to have a chat.
I'm so surprised Salesforce hasn't come at you and said, hey, shut it down.
Well, I grew up down the street from Mark Benioff as a kid. So I figured if I ever need to ask for a favor, which he wouldn't give me, but they send us an occasional email and we ask, what we're paying our bill, right? So we've always paid our bill, and they've kind of left us alone.
There you go. Amir, if people are looking to get in touch, they want to find out more about this marketplace, where can they go?
Yeah, cloudtest.com. I'm actually on the website all day long with a live chat, so I can meet you there and chat with you anytime, or just use my name, Amir Reiter, on any social media. I'm active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I don't hide behind a code name. I usually use Amir, Reiter, and Cloud Task. So I'm easy to find, and happy to help anybody who's looking to learn more about the RevOps marketplace and what we have to offer.
I love it. Thank you both for joining. I never introduced myself. I'm Collin Stewart, founder, CEO of Predictable Revenue. If you want to get in touch with us, predictablerevenue.com. Sign up for the newsletter if you want to if you want to stay in the loop and hear about the new book that's coming out next year.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Collin. Thanks, Amir.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Yeah.
good to see you. And we'll catch you all next year.
Fantastic. Bye.
Yeah. Stream has been stopped.
Cool.
Send me this raw file and I'll put it live and it will get more views. You just have to WeTransfer it to me if you want to.
Cool.
Yeah, let me send us. Jennifer manages that on our side. And our team, Think Strategy. I think I introduced you guys to Think Strategy, didn't I? They're our digital marketing team out of LA.
Okay.
Really good guys. They do all of our videos and they do our most of our paid search. So they help with. Jennifer does our content, but they do most of this work. So send it out, whatever you, and then they will help process.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Will do.
Fantastic. Have a good day. Thanks again. Let's keep.
Why are you so modest? Your book is going to be 10 times better than Aaron. Aaron doesn't even work.
The guy, I mean, we were co-founders for, whatever. I'm founder CEO of the company called Predictable Revenue. And I mean, I don't want to be out there throwing shade at Aaron, like in a webinar. I've had my disagreements with him, but I still like him as a human, and I still think his book was great.
Your book improving on his will be better than knocking on him. That's how books work. It builds upon it.
Fair.
It's like selection. Like he wrote a book,
maybe,
and then you improve it.
Maybe it's my Canadianism, just shining through, just trying to be modest.
Well, you must get leads. I mean, we had a call today, which was a referral from you, Collin, Lean Tree, that read the book, believes in the book, reached out to you guys.
Yeah.
And I think you might still do something with them. I'm not sure, on maybe sales strategy or something. And then we talked to them. They're a platform. I was actually going to mention them today, but I didn't want it to misrepresent them. But basically, they're a platform for recruiting and social selling around recruiting. So it's quite interesting. But they came to you from the book, so you must still get quite a few leads just coming through the book, right?
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So many people, they click in the drop down. I read Aaron's book. Like there are, quite a bit. I'd say probably, if not most of our demand. Like that book was really fucking successful. So to write a better quality book is maybe possible. To write a more successful book, I think is unlikely.
Why?
Because product
market fit.
From your perspective.
Product market fit.
Yeah.
At the time, it was one of the first sales books that came out of a big tech giant. Aaron is incredibly hooked up in the Valley, and his dad's a popular VC angel investor. Aaron, I'm confident Aaron's dad knew Mark Benioff, and that's how Aaron got the job. So
yeah, of course.
So like he was.
I'll tell you, Benioff was a nerd as a kid. He was my sister's class. He was 2 years older, and literally since I was in the first grade, he was in the third grade, 4 doors up the street from me in a suburb outside of San Francisco.
No way.
Yeah. So his neighbor had fireworks, and so Mark was my guy to get the fireworks, and I'm sure Mark made a bit of a margin on it before we figured out how to go direct and get the fireworks direct. And it's funny because I think his parents were originally from San Francisco, maybe his grandparents, so he kind of positions himself as like this third generation San Franciscan. But he grew up in the suburbs, it's kind of funny, but he's built an impressive business for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I think to compete with
Collin, write your book and I'll help you promote it so it gets bigger and better. I don't see why you're afraid of competition. You're also competing with somebody who's like doesn't care. He's a father. He's not being insulted. He's got 9 kids.
Fair enough. 10.
which is
He'd be very
part of
happy.
his brand,
He'd
isn't
be
it?
very happy if you wrote a book that was better. I think he would say, "Good job, Collin."
Complicated
I would love
relationship
it.
there. No comment.
You're recording.